Hello everyone and welcome to Build Order Breakdown number 2. Today we're going to be looking at the Protoss versus Zerg matchup. A lot of people have been complaining about the versus Zerg matchup for a long time, and especially in PvZ. It is very boring to watch, very boring to cast, and pretty much very boring to play. You sit back, turtle up, and go up to 3 base as a Protoss, maybe 2 base, do an all-in, and max out an army, just have a max versus max fight, not much happens. So, today we're going to be looking at a Protoss versus Zerg game. This is in fact one that I have played, so I'm going to have intimate knowledge of what the player is thinking, as it is myself. We're going to be going for a standard Forge Fast Expand. This build is best to do on Ohana, as you can fully wall off this ramp and still break down the rocks to your third in order to get out, and also to have easy access to your third. That way you don't have to worry about any sort of Zergling run-bys into your main or your natural. When you take your third base, you can just park your army right here and be safe from any sort of attacks that come from this alley. And of course, going to be scouting with that initial probe, just looking for any sort of early pool. If you do see an early pool, go ahead and drop down that forge first, but you should be relatively safe in most circumstances. Spotting that pool, and of course going to be going down to delay this hatchery. You don't actually want to block this hatchery permanently. You don't want to do any sort of funky things with cannons or gateways. It will encourage the Zerg to do some sort of 2-base pressure, and you just won't have enough units to hold that off. You don't also want to have to build any more cannons than you have to. So as I said before, Nexus first should be very safe as you can fully wall this off. Going to be throwing that forge down behind this. And of course, going to be throwing down one pylon, but going to be canceling that as well. You just want to delay this hatchery, not actually block it permanently. Forge going down, going to be throwing down a pylon and 2 gateways behind this, and then of course the cannon. He did take out my probe, killer drone, so I was sad about that. Pylon and again gateways going down behind this, and then of course the cannon. Zerglings are going to be coming out, but as I said before, they will not be able to get up. It doesn't matter if your cannon is delayed, because you will of course have the full wall off. The Zerglings won't be able to get in, and these rocks have a lot of health. Zerglings aren't going to be able to break those down anytime soon. So no holes. You'll see the Zerglings try to get up, do a little bit of damage, but this cannon will finish up before any sort of hull damage is taken. Zerglings running up, trying to pick off any sort of buildings. Nexus finishing up, and at 4 minutes, you want to take your first gas. Of course, you want to be able to get your units out of your base, so putting those zealots on rock duty, just making something for them to do. When your gas finishes up, throw down one pylon in your main base. This is going to be for your cybernetics core. One of the other reasons that I like this build, other than it just being good, is that it allows your cybernetics core to be safe. During a regular game, you'll see a lot of players put their cybernetics core in their wall off, and I actually don't understand why you would put one of the most important structures for a Protoss player. It allows you to build sentries and stalkers, it allows you to tech in the most vulnerable place at the front of your base. Now I do send one zealot out here just to ward off the Zerglings, and that cybercore finishing up, +1 starting. If you start your cybercore right at 50 gas, you should have enough. If you start that +1, and you want to be chrono boosting out those as well. Non-stop zealot production, again working down on those rocks, and at 6 minutes to 6:30 you want to throw down 3 more gases to go up to a total of 4. When your cybercore finishes up and you have enough gas you can start producing stalkers instead of zealots. Although you do want to also have gas to be able to throw down those tech structures. throwing guys into gas immediately. 3 should go in there as well, and again, Chrono Boosts go down on these 2 upgrades. This will finish just as you reach the opponent's third base, if you have non-stop Chrono Boosted that, and of course if you have your Stalkers with that. Zealots will two-shot Zerglings if they don't have upgrades. Stalkers will of course be good against Roaches and Zerglings in the early game anyway. And Chrono Boost going down, your army is moving out across the map, and this should finish up around the same time that you're moving out. I do throw a cannon down up here just for safety, and behind this throwing down 4 more gateways and a robotics facility and a Twilight Council. This build not only allows you to possibly pick off the third, pick off a bunch of drones, but if you don't succeed, then if you look at the income tab, you force the Zerg to build a lot more Zerglings than they want to. If this timing hits before 8 minutes, then their Roach War normally won't be done. This is provided they go for a 3-base situation. And look at these Zealots doing lots of work. Your Stalkers should be able to kite those, and of course when Roaches come out, you can use these Stalkers to focus fires those down. You can warp in a few sentries at home for defense, and like I said before, Roaches going to be able to be picked off by these Stalkers fairly easily. Going up to 4 gateways, the Robo is finished up, and that Twilight Council as well. Starting up those Immortals, and the plus shields upgrade is actually very useful for Immortals. You're going to be going for a lot of Immortals and Archons in this build, so you'll be benefiting a lot from that shield upgrade. You won't actually be building a whole lot of Zealots, so you'll be fine doing shields instead of armor. And look at the income tab. You have far more workers, more bases, and more income than the Zerg. Of course, you want to wait until about the 11-minute mark to take your expansion, just to be sure that the Zerg is not throwing some sort of all-in pressure. But with your sentries, your Immortals, you should be completely safe to be able to take your third base at around 11 minutes. And behind this, get Blink and a Dark Shrine. You're going to be doing some Warp Prism harassment. This is actually a Starvation build that you do against the Zerg. You are able to deny the Zerg's 4th and 5th bases, possibly the 3rd if you're lucky, or the main base if you get a good warp in. But very useful. You can build 1 Immortal as your Dark Shrine is started. You can build an Observer and then a Warp Prism. Your Warp Prism will finish up about the same time that your Dark Shrine does. And of course, taking that 3rd base behind this, you can start another wall off here in order to just further protect this base. And if you put down 4 gateways here, you should be able to force field this with 2 force fields and prevent any sort of units from coming in. Blink gonna be finishing up, Dark Shrine finished up as well, and the Warp Prism gonna be finishing up soon after that. You don't have to get that charge upgrade, as you won't be using that. You won't be building a whole lot of Zealots. Your main force is going to be Stalkers, Immortals, and of course there's the Dark Templar. Warp Prism popping out, you want to, of course, send that to the main base. If you're feeling lucky, or if you feel like you have enough Stalkers to do so, you can actually blink your Stalkers around, pick off Overlords, maybe pick off Creep Tumors with your Observer, or get some harassment done in the 3rd, pick off Queens, any extra units. As your Warp Prism will force the Zerg player to send a good portion of their army back to their main base. 3rd finishing up, also Dark Templar, you can send 1 to each of the likely 4th bases for that Zerg player, and just deny it, scout it, see what's going on. If we still look at the income tab, you are still ahead. The Zerg player just getting up to those bases and also producing Roaches. Of course, you want that Stargate to go down so you can get your mothership out. Where is that Stargate? There it is. Dark Templar going to each of these bases. Warp Prism in the main base. No Overseers over here. Gonna pick off this hatchery. It's researching Burrow, so nice pick off there. Infestors able to be fungaling these, but of course, fungal does not last for a super long amount of time. You do end up picking off that hatch, and your Warp Prism can run away safely. And Zerg is now still on 2 bases, while you are on 3. And of course, your Dark Templar just monitoring these extra 4th bases that the Zerg could take. Like I said before, not going to be getting a whole lot of Zealots. Main force is going to be of Stalkers, Immortals, and Dark Templar. Did I throw down a Fleet Beacon yet? Of course. Extra Immortal production should be starting either the Shield or the Ground Weapons level 2. I don't know what I'm focusing on at the moment. I do have a lot of money. Just building some cannons, looks like, for defense.